Good morning, YouTube. Today we are talking McMansions. April, what do you think of McMansions? They're basically giant, ugly houses built from the 1980s till the recession in 2008 that look expensive but are really cheaply built.
I don't know. The only thing I could think of, like the only comparison I could think of, are recreations of cars. That guys and girls make, like the Cobra recreations or the Ford GT recreations by Superfast. Is that?
Yes.
And
well, some are much better than others.
Right,
but, yeah.
right. Well, and
Super Performance is a big one. Yes.
And everyone loves the Cobra recreations, but then there's some like that do it. And I'm like, why are they trying to make it look like a Mach 1 when it's totally not a Mach 1? But then I'm like, my Grand National, like I would love to put fender flares on it, like the GNX.
Right.
So I get it. There's like a little bit of me that understands the McMansion thing, but then relates it to it's kind of just a recreation of a real castle or a mansion, and so it's fake.
Right.
If that makes sense.
And they're mostly ugly. So they started to get shamed in 2016, sort of mainstream, where everybody started hating them when this gal named Kate Wagner started McMansion Hell. And she started making blog posts shaming these houses, and she's still doing it to this day. You can see she points out all of the horrible architectural things. Usually it's a mishmash of stuff going on. Different windows and different styles and a random castle spire. All this terrible stuff that it just looks awful. You've scrolled through McMansion Hill before, haven't you?
No, I haven't.
She just critiques with little boxes on how terrible the house is. See, Neelix? Yeah, look at the castle spire in this one. And just potentially AI for what? Oh, the flowers and
adding
things.
Flowers, but this style right here, they made out of styrofoam-based siding. Which I guess they would make a styrofoam? I don't know. For building material?
About stucco.
Okay.
Yeah, like fake stucco that looks like stone.
I love this one because it's like, inside. This color is in every single McMansion. It's not green, it's not yellow, but a secret third thing. That's perfect.
Exactly.
What is that? Yeah.
So she's been doing this for many years, since 2016.
Oh, that's great.
And I do think that she has affected a little bit of change when it comes to McMansions.
Right.
Because now they look different. They look more like, bloated farmhouses now, or at least some kind of conformity.
Right.
So my first house that I bought when I started hitting it in YouTube and built my big garage, I was very proud of it until it got shared on McMansion Hill.
No.
It did. Yeah. I was so offended and humiliated because I thought, that's not a McMansion.
Right.
It has all the conformity, everything looks right, the windows all match and everything. And, well, then Doug DeMiro texted me, he saw me getting all mad and defending myself on the internet, and he's like, dude, your house is a McMansion.
Right. Do you have a massive foyer? Your house is a McMansion.
Well, it's because my garage dominated the size of the house. They said this garage looks like it has a massive forehead, owned by a semi-famous YouTuber. This was years ago. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Now that you say that, that's all I can see when I look at this garage.
Right.
But there's those two massive pillars in front of your front entrance, which look great, but they're completely unnecessary. But they're really, really cool.
I suppose, and the house is way up on stilts because the people who built it, they wanted to have a basement. The original floor plan was lower.
Right.
So that's why the garage is up so high to sort of match the roof line and to where they could put a walkout basement, and it got really stretched. We did address it by fixing the steps and things, making it look a little bit better, but yeah, I was just utterly humiliated and trying to defend myself, and it wasn't working. The comments, oh man, I haven't looked at this in a while, but yeah, they said things like, before YouTube, these types of people would just live in a shack with piles of dead cars all over their yard, which was funny. But the house, that was where I got insulted. Like, it's a house you dream of when you're 12.
That's so true.
Exactly.
Your house is so true.
Yeah.
It's like what you would draw as a child. What's your dream house?
It's a pretty house.
It is. It's very nice.
It's a pretty house. So, yeah, he's a car guy, not a house guy. Just a lot of mean stuff. I was on there defending myself, actively fighting the trolls, which you never, ever are supposed to do, ever, with the internet. And the one person who just shook me back to reality was Doug DeMiro, not to bring him up because of what she does. What? He's like, dude, your house is a McMansion. It's totally McMansion. Just accept the fact that you own a McMansion. I suppose I do. Yeah. I think it's a lesser McMansion compared to all these terrible ones, which here, I pulled up some of the worst from McMansion Hill. Take a look. So this one, they call it the Garage Mahal.
Oh, yeah.
You thought my garage was bad. Look at that one. And it has all these mixed type of architecture going on here.
It's pretty, I like it, but it looks like it's AI.
It's hideous.
Because no one would really build a house like that, yet it exists.
It looks like something you would have built in The Sims, for sure. And then the hourly motel vibes of this house, where it has the entrance with all that. Yeah.
I love entrances, like, roofed entrances like that. I think it's just like a grand thing to have. But again, it's over the top and completely unnecessary.
This one wasn't done well. And then the master bedroom, look how ridiculous that is.
But it's just like, when you add fake scoops on the hood of a car, it's just, you're adding this grandeur that doesn't have any function.
I suppose. Yeah, and then that's the stone and brick
veneer.
facades.
So
Going
warm.
over the top with that. So that's the case of my old house, where it's all siding down the back, and the front sort of has a facade to it.
I remember you brought me down, I don't know if it was that neighborhood or a similar neighborhood, where all these houses are huge and massive, but they have that veneer brick on the front, and then the sides are just, the tornado in Kansas is just going to plow right through them, because they don't even look sturdy.
It's a very common way to get a maximum square foot per dollar.
Right.
Just focus on the facade, the rest of it doesn't
Well, it's like
matter.
remember,
See,
like the
this one here.
Wild West buildings, where the front is this huge kind of square, and then behind it you have a little building, because they want the facade, they want the front to look impressive and massive, and oh, look at me, look where I live.
See?
Exactly.
Yes, and they call it a house equivalent of a mullet. Wealth in the front, poverty in the back.
So good. You would look good with a mullet.
I don't know about that, but here's another one. Castle Spire. So they're going for that Mediterranean, Tuscany look or whatever, and it's just...
So that's just to house a
it's
staircase, and
It's awful.
its only function.
Yeah, and then they say this mansion needs a chiropractor. The crazy roof lines,
Right.
it's very common. Of this up to, recessionist era, 2008, 2010, where these big houses just, it looks so stupid.
Right, yeah. So what's going to happen? Like, do you think people are going to be less interested
More stupid roofs.
in them? Because they're kind of like this like show-off thing, but there's not a lot of go to them, I
So
guess?
here's my opinion, and it's based on my personal experience, because there are a lot of these McMansion-y houses in Wichita. I think way more than a lot of places. And one I actually went through personally a few years ago with another YouTuber, Elliot Alvis. It was his friend's place. I don't think they'll be offended by saying that it was a crazy McMansion. Here, let me pull it up for you.
Hey. Drawer refrigerators. Everywhere. Pretty cool, right? Huh? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's not a Mercedes, though. What is that?
Perfect.
Yes.
It was unsellable. We went through it in a YouTube video, and it was just totally unsellable.
Oh, man.
So they had that motor court entrance. They did this massive garage addition that was really cool with a pool, 9,000 square feet total, but then the interior,
Oh my
it was like a display home for
gosh.
this new fancy neighborhood built, I think, in 2007 or 2008. So it's
Yeah.
full out,
That was
cheesy.
08? Because I would put that design in 2000, maybe even 1995. That
nope.
Tuscany
Nope,
look.
full out, cheesy, faux finished
Right.
McMansion everywhere, and they did not do a thing to try and help it. So it sat for sale
Yep.
for years.
Yeah.
And I think the worst part was the basement mural for me. Yeah, there's the wine cellar, of course.
Oh, my.
Of course, you have to have
The theater room.
a theater room. And
Romance in
then
the back.
romance. And then it's all cheesy and terrible.
Yeah, I would totally love a theater room, though. Who wouldn't love a theater room? But here's the thing is with the McMansions, you have to maintain all of it. You have to clean all of it. I feel like it's a full-time job to
Right.
take care of one of these
So
places.
it took years to
Right.
sell. They finally just auctioned it off, and it sold for way less than what they were wanting.
Yeah.
But yeah, they wanted $3 million, and it sat forever. And that's my opinion of McMansions. I think that there will be a point where they fall out of fashion. Sort of like the Victorian mansions, the days of old, where these were once the grand homes of
Right.
people, wealthy, well-to-do people, and
Right.
even like in the Gatsby era, these homes, they all fell out of fashion. Nobody wanted to deal with the maintenance of a carved-out Victorian mansion with all
Right.
the wood and everything else. Same with these big marble, flat roof, 20s mansions and things. They all got bulldozed and they started over again. I honestly think that these McMansion neighborhoods will probably become slums because people will not want to buy
Really?
these houses. They don't want to maintain them. There'll be a callback to quality over square footage.
Right, right.
And I don't think owning one of these homes would be a good idea.
Right. I mean, it's a lot of space. It's a lot to take care of. But I go back to when I bought my first house and I was working, 80 hours a week. I didn't spend any money on food. I ate ramen noodles because I saved my money and wanted to buy a house. And I wanted to buy a nice house. And so when you're first starting out, like this makes you feel like perhaps you've accomplished that. Like you've reached the American dream and all this hard work you put in and you have this big McMansion to show for it. So like I understand why people still want to live in this sort of pseudo luxury of the McMansion.
So you don't think they'll fall out of fashion? All this faux finish and fake wood and all veneer, all the facades, people are still going to go for that?
I don't know. I think so. I think people will still be into it and just refinishing it all the time and doing, you know, gut rehabs on them and hopefully they won't get blown over by the tornado.
Well, I kind of hope they do. But they're not built with the best quality
That's right,
either, so
right.
they're not going to hold up very well. All those crazy roof lines, and they have the terracotta roof, when
Right.
that starts leaking,
Yeah.
like, how do you find the leak?
Right.
You want to replace the whole roof, and it's going to be $200,000 to
That's
replace
true.
the roof. People are not going to want to mess with this crap, and it's all going to get
Well,
scraped, in my opinion. at least.
Whoever the person is that wants to drive a fake Countach would buy a McMansion.
I suppose. But
There you go.
I think
And there's people
the
out there that would do it.
height of McMansion and the failure of McMansions is a pretty famous one. You should recognize it, right?
Yeah, Michael Jordan's house or his
Yes.
estate that's been for sale for I want to say like over 10 years.
10 years.
Has it been 10 years?
10 years.
Yeah.
He's steadily lowered the price, but he just won't let it go. Sat empty for 10 years, but now at $14 million. This is a proper mansion, 32,000
Right.
square feet. What do you do with
So
it?
can you pull up when he first listed it what that price was?
It was $30 million.
It started at 30, now it's half.
Yes.
What do you think he needs to get down to be able to sell this?
I don't know. That's the thing. $5 million.
$5
maybe?
million for this. It's completely custom.
Because it needs to be scraped, redone,
Right.
or repurposed into something else.
Right.
You know, the X-Men
Right.
school or something like that.
It
Charles
actually-
Xavier School for the Gifted, whatever.
It
Yeah.
looks like that, but I don't mean to pull it into cars again, but it reminds me of customizing cars because this is seriously customized house. You know, everything's 23 Michael Jordan basketball. You have to find that person that's obsessed with not only Michael Jordan, but, you know, with basketball in general and into fitness perhaps, and it's gonna be hard to find it. So I don't know. I would be surprised if he lowered it to $5 million because he probably makes whatever residuals, dividends on the movies
Well,
that he's been in that
in
are
an
even more
article,
than that.
it said in the 10 years he's paid $2 million in property taxes
Yeah.
while this thing is sat empty.
Right.
Nobody's touched it.
Right.
And there's somebody that has broken into it and did sort of their own urban exploration video and got charged
be
for
great.
burglary, which that'll be an interesting thing when people abandon and leave behind these McMansions.
Right.
The urban exploration of them will be very cool for YouTube videos in the future, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So,
think it's cool.
differing opinions on what will happen to McMansions, but we do agree that they are terrible.
Yeah, not a good idea.
Thank you so much for watching. Segue in somewhere, right? You'll get it.
I'll try.
Yep.
Neelix is
When you
here.
were-
Oh, with the cat.